That being said, I'd like to go ahead and call to order this meeting. The June 1st, 2021 City of Kalamazoo Tree Committee. We'll begin with a roll call, and I'll go ahead and get us started. My name is Anthony Ladd, and I'm with City of Kalamazoo and the Department of Public Services.
I'm Brian LaBelle, City of Kalamazoo Forester Supervisor.
Patrick McVeary, City of Kalamazoo Parks and Recreation.
This is Gail Walter. I'm a representative from the Environmental Concerns Committee.
This is Eric Inyard, a forester for Consumers Energy.
I believe Steve Skowski, City of Kalamazoo Water Department is on the phone as well, or in the meeting. Steve, are you there?
Sorry, having issues. I'm here.
Steve is present. Thanks, Steve. Okay, and then I believe in the meeting today we have just one guest, Mr. Joshua Sortland.
Yes, yeah, that's me. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to introduce myself or not. I'm a homeowner of 1151 Royce Avenue, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Thanks, Mr. Sortland.
Yeah, no problem.
So for today, Karen sent the agenda out last week for this month's agenda. If anybody had a chance to take a look at that or noticed any comments or questions, we can address those now. And if not, would someone make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, and like we've been doing is also, all those in favor, if there are no objectors, we'll assume that it is unanimous. Hearing none, it's approved. Also included in your packet for this week, sent by Karen last week, was the approval, or was the minutes from the May 4th meeting. And if there's no changes or objections there, would someone make a motion to approve those minutes?
I sent an email to Karen just a little bit ago. I apologize for the lateness, just with one very small correction that was needed under the committee comments. So other than that, they look fine to me.
Okay, thank you, Gail.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Someone second that?
Yeah, I'll second. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh. Any objections? Hearing none, we'll move on. I guess, well, I should have said something about this sooner for the agenda, but with our new business today, as we mentioned, we only have one new business item. That is at 1151 Royce Avenue with Mr. Portland here. The farmer's market new business item has been removed. There was a chance that through the construction process they're going to need to remove more trees, but it's since been decided there's a different path that does not require the removal of any healthy city trees. So that being said, like I said, our only item of new business today is Mr. Sortland here for 1151. Royce Avenue, and I have a lot of your or all of your pictures. I believe that you had sent the committee that we sent last week out
Yep.
to everyone.
I did send a few more that was probably dated earlier today. I figured as I was looking at this yesterday, I was like, man, this is a lot of information for, for something to present on a Zoom meeting. So, I do apologize for sending this on short notice, but I did include some more recent updated pictures. Because what I wanted to do was the pictures that I included were shots kind of from the other side of the street that showed my house. And then I took a couple pictures that showed my side of the house on my side of the street, showing the opposite end of the street as well, just to present kind of more of an aesthetic look of what it looks like on one side versus the other. Kind of like a before and after.
Sure. That's fine. More information is always better. So that's perfectly fine. I have all that information. I can share my screen and pull that up if you want to direct me to what pictures, or we can allow you to share your screen if you want to present those. That's up to you.
We can do that. I'm comfortable. I'm sorry. I'm comfortable leading on the Zoom webinar if you guys are okay with that. The only thing is, when I wrote this out, this was more of a, in order to respect everyone's time, this is kind of written more of a, everyone takes some time to kind of look at it and make a decision, I don't know, given everyone's free time. So I didn't want to actually read out, I think what I got here, 2 full pages.
Sure.
2 full pages, single space. So it's a lot of information, but I just like to target, some of the kind of the key points, and then go through some of the pictures to give you kind of a visual of what I'm looking at and kind of present my reasoning for why I'd like to get the tree removed, if that's okay with you guys.
Absolutely. So I'll just see here. I'll share my screen, and then if you just want to go ahead and talk through these as I roll through them, we can go through it that way, and be more than happy to zoom in or pull up a different picture. Just let me know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that showing up?
I can see the folder, but I cannot see the picture.
How is that?
Same thing.
You just gotta tell us what picture you want.
Oh, maybe we can just go through them sequentially.
How about now? We have.
No, we're good. You just gotta go. Yep.
All right.
All right. Quick backstory for you guys, so you guys, kind of get a little bit of an understanding of kind of what I'm going through, why I'm here today. So you guys aren't just looking at pictures and looking for a request. I started this probably a little over a year ago. I really wanted to get the windows in my house fixed. This property is actually my grandma's. I bought it from her when she passed away about 5 years ago. So been in the neighborhood a long time. About a year ago, I had just gotten most of my windows taken care of. I wanted to move on to the concrete. So I had a couple people come out to look at my driveway, and they said, wow, this driveway looks pretty beat up. And I kind of told them a story. It says 2-3 years ago, I had a couple roommates, and we had this really big piece of concrete, and I can show you in one of the pictures when we go through it. I had one of these big pieces of concrete that, when you drive over it, it'd move up and down. And a couple of my roommates were like, man, let's pull this thing up and see what's making it teeter-totter, So we pulled it up, and there was probably a big root. It was probably 3 to 4 inches in diameter. So what we did is we kind of hacked it up real good. We probably spent a couple hours. and tried to pat down some of the dirt and put it back on, and it didn't teeter-totter anymore. And I can show you one of the pictures. So fast forward 2-3 years from then, I decided to get some concrete work done. I bring out a couple contractors for estimates. Both of them at the time told me, they says, hey, we'll put rebar in it, but, given that tree and that issue that you've had, you're going to likely have to do some additional measures, and they may not work, and we won't be able to warranty them, et cetera, et cetera. And I says, oh, geez. So my initial ticket that I had placed was, I let them know, and I don't know, through talking with someone, they says, hey, that's a city issue. You should also get them to look at your plumbing while you're at it. Cause that year I had to have a plumber come in and rotor-root my drains twice because it backed up. So, I put this all in a ticket and sent it to the city of Kalamazoo. This is actually a picture of my house. And that's the tree that's specifically in question. And so I submitted a ticket, and the city immediately came out, and it looked like and to my knowledge, I don't know exactly what they did, but it looks like they installed some type of a clean out so that the clean out could go in and rotor-root out all of the roots. I wasn't there at the time, but my wife told me that she believed that they brought some type of machine in to go in and clean out those roots as well. So great thing on that. And then I never heard anything about the tree. So probably 2-3 months later, I remembered it again, submitted a ticket, didn't hear anything. And then probably, I don't know, maybe back in January, 6 months later, I submitted another ticket saying, hey, I'm not sure if anyone's heard my request, denied it. I have no idea what's going on. Brian at that time, because I asked someone to reach out to me, Brian LaBelle reached out to me. Came, looked at the tree. He says, hey, the tree looks in good shape, but if come springtime, if anything's looking any better, or if there's a couple of really bad branches that have fell, give me a ticket, submit a ticket, we'll come out and we'll reevaluate. So probably in April, end of March. In March, I submitted another ticket because there was a couple of fallen branches. I didn't take pictures of them. I should have, but then again, people can put branches anywhere. Submit another ticket, says, hey, I got some fallen branches. Still don't really know what I'm going to do regarding my concrete and plumbing situation. So I submitted another ticket. Brian came out again. He says, hey, tree still looks in good shape. And so I believe I asked Brian at that time, hey, what is there that I can do? Tried to talk to the city. The city said, hey, no, nothing you can do. Just keep submitting tickets. I didn't think that answer was good enough. The lady, I don't know, she wasn't really happy with, I was trying to be as respectful as possible. Wasn't too happy with me. Karen, I reached out to Karen. She says, no, let me see what I can do. And I'm here today. So that's kind of the backstory on how long this situation's been going on. And then if you guys are ready, I'd like to present some of the reasons in addition to, I'd like to present, my case on why I think this tree should be removed. Even though you have the backstory of my original intention for getting the tree removed is because of the concrete, I think there's some other reasons that may justify getting this tree removed, just apart from me wanting to get my concrete done on my driveway. Again, this is submitted in a very long 2-page paper. I don't want to read it all to you today, but I wanted to highlight some of the reasons because I looked in the City of Kalamazoo Code, Chapter 42. There's a few reasons of why a city may remove a tree, and I wanted to outline a couple reasons that I found in there that may justify this being looked at a little bit strongly than maybe the current health of the tree. My first thing was reason number 2, where the tree constitutes a public hazard. I says in my reasoning here, I said this tree manages to produce dead branches that normally result in cleanup on my property, so which I consider normal duties of homeowner. I've also encountered a few close call situations where branches would drop near us while working in the front yard. There have also been a few situations where the branches will get stuck on the power lines that would be removed naturally. These aren't major branches, but something that would just stand and kind of sit there for a day or two until getting blown off by the wind. I'm not sure if it's been resulted of any power outages. All the power outages that I've been involved with have been more Kalamazoo based and not necessarily just me. So I wouldn't say that it's been a result of any power outage or anything. And I put the more pressing concern is the larger, more dangerous branches that I occasionally found in the sidewalk on my home. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of this, but there was one branch, and I've never seen this before. It actually fell on the ground and stuck in the ground, and it was, I don't know, 3-4 feet, maybe 3/4 of an inch in diameter. But we have a lot of walkers in the area that, you know, like to walk up and down the side streets. So, you know, that could present a concern if this, you know, if something were to fall and hit on them. I feel like this tree, more than any of my other trees or my neighbor's trees, I think it drops more branches than normal. But then again, this is only my second home, so I don't have a lot of data to compare that to. Reason number 3, where the tree is diseased. And I said, I have no knowledge, and in all transparency, Brian suggested that I reach out to an arborist to verify the quality of the tree. I have reached out to an arborist. I have not been able to get anyone willingly to come out just specifically for this event. I would offer to pay them to come out and present a case. I just need a little bit more time in order to do so, to get additional documentation, specifically from an arborist. And I never got specific documentation at the time from the concrete people. I have reached out to them. Right now, it seems like the concrete people, both people I reached out to, they told me to give them dimensions, and I'm like, no, I need a specific quote that addresses if this concrete can be done without the tree being interfered. But I haven't got anyone to necessarily set a date yet. Everyone seems pretty busy. Again, I am willing to also get that in writing if that's needed to prove to my case as well. So reason number 3, where the tree is diseased. I don't have knowledge or experience to determine it. The only thing I can say is 5 or 6 years ago, there was a really bad windstorm. It unfortunately had knocked out a bunch of trees in the neighborhood. I didn't own the house at the time. It was in possession of my grandma, but we were taking care of it for her. We've lived in the Millwood neighborhood our entire life. My grandma's owned this home 50, 60 years. Even though I'm asking you to remove a tree, I do value the fact of the amount of trees that we had in our neighborhood at one time. The foliage and kind of how it covered over the street. It was a really nice aesthetic to kind of drive down in the neighborhood every once in a while. So I'm a proponent, person who enjoys having trees on the neighborhood. But the reason I put reason 3 here is, when 50% of those trees down, I guess these trees in the neighborhood were prone to disease or they had a lifespan of 50 or 60 years. These are some of the things I was told of why these trees fell down. So I'm not sure if this could be an additional reason to consider without, you know, further looking into it specifically. Reason 5, were necessary for the installation of public streets, infrastructure improvements, or driveways. If you don't mind, I would like to show you a couple photos, if you can. And I'd like to, yep, let's go. This specifically, if you look at all the cracks, if you look all the way on the right-hand side of this picture, that big piece, if you look on the bottom right-hand side, there's a big piece of concrete. That's the specific piece that would actually teeter, and we had to cut out the root. This is one of the pictures of my driveway that I would like to get. One of the reasons I'm trying to get some concrete work done on my home. This is kind of a specific thing. Now, if you kind of go through the pictures, I can show you different views of my current driveway. This is kind of one that I think I took around in March. This is just basically the same picture, but without all the grass and stuff around it. This is actually a picture of one of the broken branches in this tree. And, you know, you can see where it's splintered. Another picture of the broken branch in the tree. I think this is kind of one of the major limbs that drops a lot of lot of the branches that I see in my not my driveway, in my front lawn. This is kind of a little bit bigger picture of my driveway. If you can see, when I back up, there's actually a curve that takes place. If this black car were to back up if this car were to back up directly, they would actually hit this tree, because I guess prior to when my grandma and grandpa moved into this house, this tree has always been there. My grandpa's actually hit it on one occasion, and my mom's actually hit it on one occasion. So when I told her about this, she says, "Oh, good, you're going to finally get attempt to get this tree removed." But if you it kind of provides some memories as well, because my mom walked up to the tree and said, "See where this is? This is where I hit it." Blah 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 blah. But if you look on the left-hand side, there's no ability for me to put any concrete or to really do any additional improvements to the home because of the way it currently sits and because no one's willing to warranty it. So this is the current situation that I live in, which is compared to pretty much everyone in the neighborhood, I'd probably say I have the least attractive driveway. Not only because it's so close to the front yard, most cars back behind the house so that they are visible to see, but also because of the current condition of the concrete. And as you can see, there's a lot of cracks and depressions and not very pleasant features. But if you can go to the next page, I think I have one that this one kind of just goes a little bit farther back, kind of gives you a kind of a more clear view of kind of what my day-to-day life looks like. So that was pretty much the intention for that photo. This is kind of back a little bit more. My intent for this photo was to show you that if this car were to back up straightly, it would actually hit directly, into the car. So we have actually, the concrete is kind of curved so that the thing can back out. And my hopes, if the tree was to get removed, to extend that and get that all replaced so it looks nice and consistent with the neighborhood. This is a March picture of the tree, kind of full front, just showing you exactly what the tree looks like that's in question. But this is prior to any foliage growth or any leaves as such, because I took this back in March. This is a picture of me standing on my driveway, looking from the right-hand side. Gives you an idea of kind of some of the other neighbors in the area, what their current condition looks like. The house on the left in the gray, they just had their concrete done. The person on the right, I can't say for sure. I feel like they've had some concrete work done. I don't know what exactly. But if you look at the green patch, I think a couple years ago that there was a tree taken out there. This is directly in front of me, directly in front of me to the left just a tiny bit. This tree was recently removed. It was kind of funny. I'd reported a ticket maybe in March or something, and then I seen someone drive, and then a couple of days later I see a tree marked with an X, and I said, "Oh wow, they must have heard my request, but they just got the wrong tree." Well, come to find out, this tree was this was completely separate issue, but they ended up removing this tree. It was actually kind of overgrowing on the curb, so it was a pretty big tree. So they ended up removing this tree, but this kind of gives you an example of looking directly across my house and seeing a different house and seeing a different perspective of the neighborhood. I think I only have one more picture like this. And this is kind of a picture to the left-hand side that shows a couple more trees in the area. Current situation for the neighborhoods, gives a kind of vague perception of their driveway and kind of their current condition. This is my house looking directly back, and I'm looking from the other side, and this gets to hopefully present you a transparent picture of my house compared to similar houses in their neighborhood. And obviously what I'm trying to do with these pictures is hopefully represent the fact that my house compared to others is not it would be an infrastructure or driveway improvement, at least outlined in reason 5, to be similar to other homes in the neighborhood. Was that all the pictures? I think that may have been all.
I believe that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So that was kind of my summary for reason 5. I feel like I've taken a lot of your guys' time. I just have 2 more quick reasons. Trees whose roots, this is reason number 7 in the Kalamazoo Code. Trees whose roots lift sidewalks or driveways shall not be removed unless it's not possible to remedy the problem by relocating the sidewalk or by cutting and removing roots. Basically, I have done that. I have tried to cut, I've tried to cut the root and prevent the teeter-tottering issue. This issue is more, probably would be better explained with a quote from a contractor if that's required. I could get that if that would be, if that would make a difference in the determination of, make a determination in the difference of this. We unfortunately, I would not, in the addition to having the tree back straight, having my car back straight into the tree there, I see this as being unable to remedy in itself without the tree being removed. I don't see any other way around it without physically removing my garage, which if I were to redo a garage, I would probably be presented with a variance issue and moving it over, because 2 cars in itself doesn't give me enough room to really, I really just don't have the space to do that, at least in my opinion. So kind of reason 7, it's kind of already been explained. I did have some information there if you guys wanted to read into that a little bit deeper. And then reason number 8, trees shall not be removed on the sole reason that the tree's roots are clogging the sewers. I did talk about that a little bit. The last time I got my roots taken out, the contractor that did it, he recommended getting some type of a lining put into the system. They said that lining, it's better than having your driveway torn up, et cetera, et cetera. They guesstimate that it's a 4-inch pipe going out to a 6-inch clay pipe, which they believe the clay pipe is cracked because of how much roots are getting into the system. So it's fair to assume that a tree, I guess we can't say specifically that this tree, a tree has caused enough damage to give wanting someone to give me a $6,000 to $10,000 quote to finish it. He wasn't sure exactly what. So reason number 8, not only the reason for clogging the sewers, but the sewers for sure is one of them. And then I just, at the last of this submission, I just asked you guys take a look at these and give me any responses that you guys had. And that's pretty much it. I do apologize for the length of the paperwork. I really half expected that it would just be a submission and then a judgment.
No, like I said, I think that provides a lot of insight, and you definitely hit on a few different issues, as it pertains to your property and this tree. So I appreciate the in-depth detail and pictures, certainly.
Sure.
I know I have a couple questions, and I imagine others will too. Brian, could you kind of speak to the site and this tree in particular? And then I know you've spent a lot of time in this area and on Royce particularly. But could you maybe speak to this tree and then kind of a broader summary of what you've seen in this area with these species?
That tree specifically is one of the better silver maples on the block, to be honest with you. There's not a lot wrong. It's been pruned quite a few times, as you can see. But when we last time I saw it, it wasn't too much dead. There was a couple smaller diameter trees. There's a lot of trees that had been removed out of there because they're right at the, let's say, edge of the span for these silver maples, health-wise and age-wise, for city trees at least. So there's been a lot of trees on Royce taken out pretty recently.
Yeah, I know I'd kind of heard some of the same things that Mr. Sorlin had said with the age, the lifespan of these trees, I guess. And I don't know if something had come through to severely weaken these. So, it seems like we see a lot of these same types of problems on this street, but you're saying, I mean, it's obviously the same age as these trees, these other trees we've been looking at, but doesn't really seem to have the same sign of disease.
This one didn't seem to be showing signs of decline. Too. It didn't seem hollow. I didn't see any signs of decay in the stem. So I didn't see any of the telltale signs of usually they have huge hollow pockets somewhere from either a previous failure or pruning, which gets exacerbated by carpenter ants or something like that.
And to quickly comment on that, I've been in this house about 5 years now, so maybe it's about 7 years. About 7 years ago, there was a really bad windstorm that I'd say knocked out about 50, maybe not 50, maybe about 30% of the trees that were in this area. The next day we got about halfway down the street and we couldn't even go any farther because trees were just all over the place. A lot of the neighborhood, it was kind of nice to see where everyone that had a chainsaw got a chainsaw and just started cutting them up in pieces. So I know that specific event did result in a lot of the decline in trees, to the point where when I drove down the street, after the trees were all cleared out, I looked and said, wow, this really looks different. So just to provide a quick comment on that.
Yeah, I know Brian and his crew has been busy in this area. I know that there were several trees marked for removal through the city's hazardous tree program. And I know Brian's also been working diligently to plan plantings in this neighborhood as well. So that's trying to kind of continue with the nice trees that have been there. There's no overhead utilities for this tree?
I think it's the other side of the street.
Other side.
Yeah, that's correct. It looks like the primary line runs on the opposite side, and judging by the picture, there's a surge drop, but that's actually over on the other tree that's to the right of your house if you're facing it from the street. So I don't think there's any utility line conflict there.
Mr. Shortland, how old is that driveway? Would you guess?
I would guesstimate that driveway to be. I could say that my grandma and grandpa had probably never did anything with this driveway. So my mom lived in this home since she was. There was another home they lived at when she was like a baby, and then she moved to this home. My mom's in her late 60s now, so this driveway is probably that old, if not older.
So that's one of the things that I was wondering about. I mean, I would agree with you. I don't think that to put a new driveway or sidewalk down, I don't think you could do that without significantly damaging the roots. And Brian, you can tell me if you feel differently, but I would agree with that. But I would also say that cracking, probably there's probably something to be said with the root damage. Like I said, you lifted that slab and saw roots underneath it, but concrete also doesn't last forever too. So age can play into that. I was curious.
If you look a little bit up the driveway, I do have some like pockets where the concrete had kind of just fell out, if you will. When I'd first, maybe before I first moved in and knowing very little about concrete, I just tried to pour some Quikrete in there and it lasted maybe 2 or 3 years. But obviously that's not a full fix. So yeah, there's definitely some wear up probably outside of the scope of the roots as well. So there's definitely shown its signs of age. But I do have a slight patio in the back that has a little bit concrete slab as well. And there's the typical cracks that you would see, but I don't see anything similar to what's going on here. But then again, I don't know much about this to where I could provide any expertise.
Brian, is there anything that you want to comment on that? Or are there any other committee members that have questions or statements?
It would probably, depending on how, it's really hard to say without seeing without it lifted. But I would assume the farther you get from the tree, the obviously the better chance you got of being able to fix the sidewalk or the driveway without any problems. The issue you have is it's so cracked over time that the water probably got through and it sort of grow towards water, so that probably didn't help.
Gail or Patrick, Eric, Steve?
Well, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. It's, I went and looked at the tree and agree it doesn't, for a silver maple, it doesn't look too bad, and, but of course the driveway does. And so, yeah, I don't have anything I can say that hasn't already been said.
Anybody else have any thoughts or questions for Mr. Sortland? I guess we're all on this committee for different reasons, and really, we value, or I value what each person brings to this group as kind of an area of expertise. To me, I think I try to see the big picture of what we have at this site. With an opportunity to improve failing city infrastructure from a sidewalk and driveway approach standpoint, I think is a benefit. I don't think that's a strong enough reason by itself, but I also know the work we've been doing in this area of town to remove these trees and plant a more appropriate species. So if the tree is in good condition today and at its end of its life cycle, but interfering with city infrastructure, I could make a case where removing this tree and allowing that work to be done in order to have new plantings at the beginning of its life cycle makes sense to me from my background. I'm obviously just one voice, but that's kind of how I see it as an opportunity, especially in an area where we've had so many problems. But that's why I would defer to you, Brian, because you would know better than I would. That's just kind of what I'm seeing from my perspective.
Usually, if we would allow, we'd want something replanting in return. Usually is how we would run it. I don't necessarily know at this moment how many we'd want, but that's usually what we would go for in this situation.
In the past, well, with the wind blowing some of them down, there was probably a tree to the left of this current tree that was removed. I think that tree actually, I think, had water coming out of it. It was really scary. And then there was a tree directly to the right of this tree. So there are two trees currently that were down on either side of me that were not. I'm not saying to anyone's discredit, but those trees currently haven't been placed. So just throwing a number out there, it seemed like 3 trees would bring it back to where it was currently. And believe me, I'm an advocate of having trees on our driveway because I liked it, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't help my case, but I'm just being transparent about the issue.
Well, and two, I guess it'd be important, it doesn't, it really doesn't kind of weigh on this decision, but just for your own information, with this tree being deemed a healthy tree, the city would not be the agency to remove this tree. That would be on you to file for the permit through the city for approval for the tree to be removed. So just full transparency, I guess.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any thoughts on that proposition?
I would suggest maybe because the size we get a bare minimum 4 trees, and I know there's definitely room for 4 trees there, especially considering across the street there's those 2. That could be there's a spot for 2 trees right there, and they'd have to be smaller because the wires.
Yeah.
You could put 2 larger ones. You could bump whatever he's gonna replace the sidewalk, move it back like I don't know 7 feet. And then where the space was on the other side of the house, to the right of the house, you could put another large tree there too.
Well, that's what I was kind of wondering, with there being no overhead utilities, would we not go for bigger species over? And I guess there is more available planting space than just his property adjacent.
But there's a ton right adjacent. That's why I was bringing that up.
Yeah. And I know, again, we got to make sure it wouldn't conflict with our tree planting locations that are already out. But yeah, I think that with there being no overhead utilities, you have a good opportunity for the larger species to be planted. Gail, do you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, I would agree with that. I did notice that the public utilities run on the opposite side of the street, but the utilities to the homeowner's house do come in on the end of the house opposite the driveway. So as you're looking at the house on the right-hand side of the house as you're facing it. So, just to keep in mind, I was thinking the tree that's in question doesn't interfere with the utilities going to the house. But, if you had a large tree that was further along the property, that might interfere. So, that's not my, that's not my decision, or I'm not the expert in, wrestling trees and power lines, but that was just an observation I made when I looked at the site.
That's a really good point. We might be removing this tree to plant a tree directly in conflict with the utility. We wouldn't want to do
before
that.
any planting, you'd want to have a mark out.
For sure. Well, and again, just going by this street view here, there does seem to be, quite a bit of curb lawn space. We would need to really spell out, I guess, what we want planted where. And Brian, I know you could work with Mr. Sortland to come up with that. But for these purposes, for committee purposes, to make a ruling, I guess, can you propose something that is at least a good place for y'all to start working? You know, three large species for this one, 2 and 2, you know, four trees total, 2 small, 2 large. What would you like to see, I guess?
If I could comment, I know that at a minimum, and maybe not just just my space, but both of my neighbors combined on the left and the right, I don't think there would be any issue even considering the power line, because Gail is right, the power line is on the opposite side of the house. And maybe about 10 feet from the tree is my clean out. So I think we could get at least, I know that there were at least at one time 2 other trees on the left and the right hand side, considering my neighbor's property. So three from my perspective would seem like a no-brainer number.
Yeah. I think we could go with, like I said, 2 on each side, or 1 on each side, and then 2 across the street. The 2 across the street would have to be smaller. And when I say smaller, I don't mean, the mature height is less than the wires would be. So, but that's what I'm thinking is, like, if we try to squeeze more large in a section like that, it could be problematic for now, at least. But I think 2 and 2 would be a good idea to start with.
So 4 trees total,
Mm-hmm.
at least 2 of a large species, potentially 2 of a medium-sized species, but just at a minimum 2 large of the 4 for the removal work to be done by the homeowner, as well as the plantings, so that this driveway could get done. I don't have a problem with that. Are there any committee members that would like to agree or disagree at this point, or can we make a motion for that?
I agree.
I'd make a motion for that.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we will unanimously pass that item. Mr. Sortland, thank you for your time. And I guess the next step, or the next interaction that you'll have with the city, would be a right-of-way permit application. And that can be accessed through the city's website. And fortunately or unfortunately, it won't be the last time you talk to Brian and I. We'll walk you through that process and make sure that that you have a certified arborist coming out to do the work. And we will be talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. So as I stated earlier, our other item of new business resolved itself, for better, for worse, on the reoccurring farmers market / Bank Street project. It moves us right into old business, which, excuse me, kind of ties into this request that resolved itself. I know that this property had their landscaped architect on site. It was either Thursday or Friday of last week. We're actually planning on, I haven't met with them yet since they met on site last week, but I hope to be presenting a landscaping plan for this corridor of Bank Street. So, instead of the one species or the one tree that we had removed on accident, hoping to have several. I don't want to overpromise, but probably more in line of 5 or 6, possibly 7 plantings for this one tree species. So I hope to have a plan to present next month. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll move down to action items. First action item, there are none. Action items, just to remind everybody, was a section that we wanted to include on this to follow up on kind of the anniversaries of some of these decisions, follow up items, whether they were resolved, unresolved, and what became of them. Just to hold ourselves accountable as a committee, and also the people that submit these requests to the committee to make sure that they're following up on what they said they would do. At this time, are there any public comments?
There are no public comments at this time.
Thank you. Are there any committee comments?
I just wondered where we're at with the revision of the tree ordinance.
Sure.
Any thought about, you said you'd wanted to do sort of a working, some working sessions outside of our regular monthly meetings. So I just kind of wondered about an update on that.
We still need to do it. That's my update. No, I really at least want to begin that process this year. I think kind of coming out of COVID makes that a little bit easier to facilitate now and to have that interaction, or at least for us as a committee to have that meeting just to outline what we want that to look like, identify stakeholders, get opinion scale. I think one thing that we have talked about is getting more input from some of the, such as environmental concerns, trying to reach out to other stakeholders for input on best management practices. I think one of the things that I'd like to discuss as a committee would be whether that's something we want to take on internally, or if we would look to bring on a consultant that we could direct to help shape that. So I do think that the first step for us as a committee would be just to have a meeting to talk about it. And especially for you and Eric, since y'all were not part of the original meeting right before COVID. So I guess what we can do is I will talk to Karen, and we will get maybe a doodle poll out for everyone's availability, and we'll shoot for something towards the end of this month, maybe middle to late into this month. If nothing else, just to have a meeting to start laying that out, and we could use these monthly meetings as a time to kind of provide updates for ourselves that aren't, whether they're people that do not attend these meetings. Certainly hope we have full committee participation, but also to make that progress public and hold ourselves accountable. Does that sound? It's probably the most update I've provided on that in quite a while. So
this is true. Okay, so it sounds like at least there's a plan going forward. A start of a plan going forward.
We will meet this month to kick that off. Any other committee comments? I guess I would say just for everyone's education and information, I believe by now, 3 of our 4 tree-related projects have gone out to bid, and 1 has been awarded this year. Our tree survey inventory to update from it was 2001 was the last time a citywide tree survey, tree inventory was done. And now that we are using Lucity asset management software, we're able to update our inventory. That'll help us to manage the city's urban forest moving forward, and something we can track with work orders and keep records of each of our individual tree assets. So really excited about that. And the work that's going to come from that, and being able to form a forestry management plan for the city. Additionally, still out to bid right now is our 2021 tree planting project. There were 300 sites selected for that project, all in city right of way, as well as, I'm not sure if it's come out to bid yet or not, but as well as a routine maintenance block pruning project, neighborhood tree maintenance program is what it was called. So really excited to get those out, and I really feel like those are all key items for proper city forestry management. And just really got to thank Brian LaBelle and his crew for the work they've done to help put that together. Looking at all of those sites and deciding the condition of trees, looking at what planting spaces are available and what needs to go there. That's just to see it on paper is daunting enough, much less knowing the work that went into that. So thank you, Brian. And that's my comment. I'm done now. So thank you, everybody. And with that, we will adjourn. Or I guess probably need to make a motion for adjournment.
Seconded.
There we go. Assuming all those are in favor, we will move to adjourn for this month, and be talking to everybody soon. Have a good one.